Real African stories and real African experiences. This is the Legally Clueless video series. And in this episode, we learn about the making of the Queen of Esports, Queen Arrow.
So the first time I played a video game, I remember I was around 3 years old. I remember there being these cartridge console games at home that had these old school duck shooting games. I just remember that I was really into it and I'd play it with my elder brother a lot. So from there, I went into my phase where I was really into Barbie dolls. I still am actually, weirdly enough, but I was into dolls and all this feminine girly stuff. But I still remember I had that love for video games. Now with my growing up with my elder brother and cousin, now we had a computer that had Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and I just remember really being into those games and competing against them. Then when I was in standard 4, my dad got us a PlayStation 2. So now we had all these adventure games like Tomb Raider, we had Mortal Kombat, we had Tekken, we had King of Fighters. And I think at the time I really loved seeing badass women in video games since I didn't really see many of those. So I just remember loving Lara Croft, and that's how I became a history buff, because I actually wanted to be an archaeologist at some point because of what she did. Then for the fighting games, I obviously went for the female characters like Ling Xiaoyu, Christy Montero, Mai Shiranui, Chai Lim. And now, since I had more time with these games, my brother was now in boarding school. So I just kind of perfected my craft. And he'd come home from the holidays and he'd come with his friends. Then I was really good at these games, so much so that they actually kicked me off sessions. They're like, go away. That's how good I was at the time. Then in high school, I was too busy trying to survive. I think we know how Kenyan boarding schools are. So I kind of toned down my video game thing until I finished Form 4. Then when I was in uni, having a lot of time on my hands outside of class, I kind of started playing video games now again. So in uni, I was in first year, and now this is the time I kind of decided to drop basketball. I don't know, I just didn't feel like it's something I needed to do anymore. So now I was like trying to find a way to occupy now that extra time that I had. And on my laptop, I had video games, but it kind of gets boring playing alone after a while. So I just decided, I don't even know what came over me. I just said, let me Google tournaments in Nairobi. Then one of the first search results I got on my phone was the East African Gaming Convention. It was in April of 2017. So they said that I remember the fee at the time for signing up for the tournament, which was Mortal Kombat, was 2,000. So I was like, shit, I don't have that money on me. So I asked one of my cousins to help me pay for it, and she did. Thank you so much. She really helped me out that time. So I went for that tournament during the Easter weekend with my brother, and I remember I really did my best, all things considered. And once the tournament was done, I was 4th place out of, I think, around 15, 20 guys. So the tournament was held at Two Rivers in Nairobi. And how I felt during that tournament, I felt really like motivated. Because I saw that guys were way better than me. They've been playing the game for a while. They had access to, what they needed to do to succeed at the highest levels. So I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to succeed. I want to have the resources. So I was like, this is what I'm going to be doing with my time from now outside of school. So Queen Arrow is my gamer tag. I got the name, actually it's something I named myself. In high school, I was a huge fangirl of the TV series Arrow, based on the comic book character Oliver Queen. So now, at the time I was really into this series because I just thought it was really cool how he stood for the right thing, even if it might have cost him everything. So I took his surname Queen and his pseudonym as Arrow, because now everyone in the city is calling him the Arrow. So I took that and I started calling myself Queen Arrow. Then that's what I started registering myself for tournaments with. So what came after is I was still looking for tournaments in Nairobi, but they weren't really many at the time. And then I just decided to drop Mortal Kombat because I've always said this, how NRS, the studio that makes Mortal Kombat, balances the games, it's obscene. And I know some NRS fans will come for me for saying this, but yeah, some of the characters are just not balanced properly. And I decided to move on to Tekken. So the next time I Googled the tournament, I saw that there had been a Tekken tournament in Nairobi, held by the Tekken 254. But I missed it by a whole month, imagine. So I was like, but anyway, there's still some time. So I think now, this was now in December, I Googled again, then I saw that now the Tekken 254 would be, now rather there's going to be a Tekken tournament at the East African Gaming Convention, but now it was being held by the Tekken 254. So I signed up for the tournament. Then the founder, DB Kamanzi, he reached out to me. He said, we actually have a Tekken community. Do you want to be part of the WhatsApp group? And, I was like, sure, why not? So I found there's a whole community of Tekken enthusiasts, and I really thought it was cool. I became part of the community, and now this is where I learned, there are guys who were really serious about it. They were so in touch with the fundamentals of the game. But I was at this time I was just competing and I was just learning slowly. I was getting washed during the tournaments, but it was fun for me at the time. Then in May of 2018, that's when everything changed. So there was a North American team, X8 Gaming. They wanted to sign be part of the sign an African player. So they Googled on their end whether there's a Tekken community in Africa. They found that Tekken 254 was part of one of the first such results. They reached out and they decided to sign me on. So I was like, bro, I'm not even the best Tekken player in this community. I'm still a newbie to this game, so why me out of everybody else? Then they said, we find that someone we can grow with. And I was like, why not? This isn't a chance that comes, every other day, especially an American team signing on an African, a Kenyan player. And from there, that's when my full-on pro journey started. I had to go back to school because there's some units I had to retake. So I decided to just cut my long holiday short to go back to school and redo the units. So now at this time, I remember it was during my contract one class. I was using my phone. Don't do this, people. So I get a text from my cousin. So he sent me a picture. Then I see myself on the people. And they done a feature on me. Then I was like, and I think the title was The Gaming Queen or something. And like, Jesus Christ, what's this? So I was like, okay, fine, okay, I'm on the papers, fine. Then I remember someone from home called. They said my dad even brought the newspaper. He was telling us, come see someone on the papers. I didn't know that's how big of a deal it was. I just thought it was, no one would really care. Then guys in the community were stoked. Then I started getting more people, more media houses reaching out to me, wanting to do features and interviews. All of a sudden, I'm starting to get more notoriety. But I'm this shy, reserved person in real life. So it was so overwhelming at some point. What is this I've got myself into? But I think the big one, the really big feature was now in 2019 when BBC Africa now did a whole ass feature of BB. But all of a sudden when I was filming now for the BBC, I saw my Twitter was blowing up. And I was like, okay, at the time I was just concerned and confused and didn't even know what was going on. Now when I got home and settled in, I saw all of a sudden, I think at the time I had 260 followers. Now all of a sudden my following has reached 600. No, you see, they're legends in the American FGC. So all of a sudden, like one of them I've really admired for a long time, Anakin. He's co-treated the BBC feature, then he's like, I'm like, bro. Then he sent me congrats, and I'm like, Anakin noticed me. He noticed me. Then he's like, don't mind me, I'm just a fan. Keep up the great work. I was like, that feel, there's that choking feeling I got. Yeah, it was just really amazing just how my life all of a sudden changed because people believed in me enough to, take me on. And then all of a sudden a community from, the Tekken community from the Ivory Coast also believed in me so much so that they're willing to push out my stuff. And I've never met any of them, but except for one, but they believed in me that much, so it really felt like really good. So my first tournament outside of Kenya was this year. It was in Johannesburg. I was invited for Red Bull Hit the Streets by Red Bull South Africa. So they reached out to Red Bull Kenya saying that they wanted me to go attend the tournament, get some experience and all that jazz. So I remember the Red Bull office here now reached out to me and saying, so Sylvia, we want you to go for Red Bull in the Streets. You've been invited to go to Johannesburg. So at the time I was like really excited because like, bro, we out here. So I was like, this is so exciting. And then I was like, okay, I'm now going to be dealing with some of the best Tekken players from South Africa. I've seen them play, they're good at what they do. So now people think I'm good enough to go against them. So I was like, this is not going to be easy. So the invitation came in July. I think July, yeah. And I remember now, like I was really like nervous. Like I was nervous on the plane. I wasn't even able to eat properly. Like once I was even now in Johannesburg, like I was so nervous, I wasn't able to eat. Then I was just jittery, but they're telling me, don't stress too much. It's all about the experience. But I think it mattered, it still mattered enough to me because I felt terrible when I lost. Like I was like, I was just really distraught. There's no other way to explain it. Then the guys, they were really nice about it. They're like, don't take it so personally. Like, all of us have been there. Like, we've lost tournaments where we felt we shouldn't have lost. At the end of the day, what matters is like, how do you pick yourself up after, such an experience? Okay, so when I came back from Johannesburg, I was still sad and I was still mad. And I actually wanted to cry, but I didn't know how to let it out. Then I'm also burnt out at this juncture because jet lag. Then I had some community stuff I was participating in. Then I still played badly. Then I was like, no, I think I'm burnt out with this game for now, so I'm gonna have to chill. Then I'm like, I don't know, I kind of went into an existential crisis. I'm just at home. I'm eating chocolate in my room. Then I'm like, how do I pick myself back up after such an experience? Because it was a lesson. I know it's a lesson I needed to learn. The funny thing is, I still achieved what I went to Johannesburg to do. In a way, I still achieved what I needed to achieve. But at the same time, it's the hardest lesson that I've had to learn, like losing on such a platform where I thought I thought that I could win and could achieve. So now I'm here, I'm distraught, I'm just eating chocolate. I don't know, I just felt really terrible. That's how I can explain it. The day I came from, after I came from Johannesburg, I was called by the French embassy. They told me that you're going for the new Africa France Summit, and there's also this thing with I don't know if the pronunciation is Okitani or Rositani Esports in Montpellier. So your visa interviews on Monday, so bring this list. I'm given a list of documents. Then I'm like, okay, so now I'm traveling again. And at this point, you're burnt out, but you're like, with not the traveling, not the game, but there's still an exhibition that you have to play. So I'm like, okay, I traveled. And I think what I found was different about this trip is now I also met with a very famous French player, Kayane. She's one of the people who's been really supportive of my career. And she's had a lot of, let's say, decades of experience with competitive gaming. So I went to France, I played against her in some exhibitions, and she gave me some really interesting advice. She asked me how old I was, so I told her, and she was like, I started competing. I've been competing since I was around 7. Then I started traveling at 19. And she told me when we were playing, I could feel that you were nervous, and but she said, this kind of thing, you lose the nerves as you gain more experience. And you're still young, you still have so much to experience. So don't as I said, just don't take it so personally, with losing. You're gonna lose a lot before you win. As in, it's basically what I was told in Johannesburg. How do you pick yourself up after? And how do you find the path forward now, which is my current existential crisis? How do you find the path forward? And it's not easy, but I think God doesn't give you stuff that He can't give you a burden that you're not able to bear. And I know it's a burden that I'm able to carry on my shoulders, but it's very difficult because it's really forced me to face my, I'd say, insecurities and my fears as a player. Because the thing is, in being in a male-dominated space, I'd say there's a different standard that women are held to. And at times you have to also deal with an extra layer of scrutiny, because now you feel that if I lose, people are going to say that, oh, she's just all hype. No, she can't deliver. Then there's also the extra layer that you're scared you're going to start getting harassed if it's not on Twitch, on your DMs and stuff like that. But then I was forced to reevaluate what people. Okay, fine, I'm going to be scared of what people say. People are going to talk or say all manner of things about me, but does it align with my values and my goals and objectives as a player? It doesn't. There's always going to be that clown in if it's not Arkansas in or in, let's say, in Addis Ababa or just any part of the world who's going to say some nasty stuff about you, but does it align with what I want to achieve? No, so you ignore. So I've had the unfortunate experience of dealing with harassment in the space. Then, now from that experience, now there's that preemptive fear, God, if I don't do well, people are going to, I'm going to get all these nasty statements. So now, and then statements from me, then there's also the imposter syndrome. I think a lot of us face, you feel oh, I don't deserve what these accolades I'm getting. People are going to think that if you don't do well, they're going to think that they are wrong to put your faith in you. There's, those nasty little voices at the back of your head. So yeah, it's a little bit of both, and unfortunately, it can also mess with your mental psyche. Then, as I also mentioned earlier, that I'm a very shy and reserved person. So being in a public figure, it's a very different experience for me. And there, as Sylvia, I'm just this shy, reserved person who prefers to stay, just prefers her own company. Then as Queen Arrow, I have to deal with, being in the public eye a little bit more. And I kind of like Queen Arrow because I feel I'd say I'm a bit more outgoing. So I feel a lot of emotions while playing the sport, mostly nerves, thank you, anxiety. So, now, being a person that has to deal with a lot of anxiety, I have a lot of I tend to feel a lot while playing. But I think the most interesting thing is that once I start getting to the zone, there's that competitive, there's just this weird rush that I get. And then on top of that is, now that rush is now, I can say, boosted or validated is when I start seeing stuff that, like, maybe mistakes my opponent is making, capitalizing on it. Then I just feel stuff flowing, like everything that I've been taught from, my many teachers in the space, like, this person has done this move and no, it's punishable. I started, my punishment has just started getting better. They've whiffed this move, I punish them. They're going for this low, nice try, punish. And then now it's just, everything just starting to come together in this, let me call it, like, I think you watched The Matrix where Neo starts, when he's having that Kung Fu lesson with Morpheus, everything's just meshing together. And now that rush really comes in. So that's how I just feel. Honestly, I don't know, I didn't set out to become this a big esports, like, a figure in Kenya. I just did it because I was having fun. I just enjoyed competing. And the thing is, with the success I've seen in this space, I only feel it's only up from here. So I just want to see what comes next. I want to learn. I really want to become that world-class Tekken player, to become one of the greats. And, as I said, being the most recognized esports athlete from the African continent. That's all I want.
Thanks for watching this episode. Remember, you can catch new Legally Clueless video episodes every Friday and new audio episodes every Monday.